Stop what you are doing right now, because what I am about to tell you is something nobody ever warned you about, and it has been costing you everything. There was a man, woke up at 5 a.m. every single day, worked 14 hours, never complained, never quit, did everything right, everything they told him to do. Grind harder, stay consistent, push through the pain. 3 years later, he was in the exact same place he started, not because he was lazy, not because he lacked discipline, but because he was building on the wrong foundation. He was putting enormous effort into a broken structure. And broken structures do not become strong just because you work harder on them. Here is the lie you were sold. They told you that getting back up is enough, that effort is enough, that wanting it badly enough is enough. It is not. Effort without the right architecture builds nothing. You can run faster than anyone else and still lose the race if you are running in the wrong direction. Niccolò Machiavelli understood this 500 years ago. He did not write about working harder. He wrote about seeing clearly, about rebuilding with precision, about understanding the real forces that shape a life before you spend that life chasing something that was never going to work. In the next few minutes, I am going to give you 7 truths. Not motivation, not inspiration. Truth. The kind that changes how you see everything. But I am warning you right now. Once you see this, you cannot unsee it. Drop this in the comments right now. Say, I am done rebuilding on broken foundations. Let us begin. 1. You are not lazy. You just do not know who you are. Let me ask you something. How many times have you told yourself you need more discipline, more motivation, a better routine, a stricter schedule? And how many times did that actually work long term? It did not. And it was never going to, because discipline is not the problem. Identity is. Here is what nobody tells you. Your brain does not follow schedules. It does not follow goals. It does not follow vision boards or morning routines or productivity hacks. Your brain follows identity. It follows the story you believe about who you are. When a man knows exactly who he is, he does not need an alarm clock to drag him out of bed. He wakes up because lying there feels like a betrayal of himself. Every extra minute under those covers feels like a choice against the person he is building. That is not willpower. That is identity doing its job. But most people have never made that decision. Most people are walking around with an identity that was assigned to them, not chosen. Your parents decided what kind of person you should be. Your teachers decided what you were capable of. Your failures decided what you were allowed to try again. Society decided what was realistic for someone like you. And you absorbed all of it. Every single label, every limitation, every quiet message that told you to stay in your lane, be manageable, be predictable, be safe. Machiavelli saw this clearly. He wrote that men are shaped far more by the world around them than by their own nature. But he also wrote that the rare man, the dangerous man, is the one who decides to shape himself instead. That word, dangerous, is important. He did not mean violent. He meant someone who cannot be predicted, cannot be controlled, cannot be kept small by other people's expectations. Are you that person right now? Or are you still living inside the identity someone else built for you? Here is what makes this hard to see. The assigned identity does not feel like a cage. It feels normal. It feels like just the way things are. You do not wake up thinking someone else is running your life. You wake up thinking, this is just who I am. I am the kind of person who struggles with consistency. I am the kind of person who always starts things and never finishes. I am the kind of person who never quite gets to where I want to go. Those are not facts about you. Those are stories you inherited, and you have been living inside them so long that you stopped questioning whether they were ever true. James Clear, who spent years studying human behavior, found something that changed how the world thinks about change. He found that the people who successfully transform their lives do not focus on what they want to achieve. They focus on who they want to become. Not, I want to run every day, but I am a runner. Not, I want to build a business, but I am an entrepreneur. The identity comes first. The behavior follows automatically. This is exactly what Machiavelli understood about power. He wrote that a man must decide what kind of prince he will be before he ever makes a single move. Not after, before. Because without that decision, every action is reactive, every choice is made under pressure, every setback becomes a reason to shrink back into the old story. So here is the real question. Not what do you want, not what are your goals, but who have you decided to be? Because until that decision is made, everything else is just effort poured into a foundation that does not exist yet. The man who transformed his life did not wake up one morning with more discipline. He woke up one morning and made a different decision about himself. He looked at the identity he had been carrying and said, "This is not mine. I did not choose this. I am choosing something different starting now." That moment is available to you right now. Not next Monday, not when conditions improve, not when you feel ready. Now, the most dangerous thing you can do for everyone who has kept you small is to decide, clearly and without apology, exactly who you are, what you stand for, what you will no longer accept from yourself or from the world around you. You are not lazy. You have never been lazy. You have been living inside someone else's story about you. Today you write your own. Drop this in the comments. Say it out loud. I am not who I was. I am who I decide to be. 2. Stop waiting to feel ready. Ready is a lie. There are two kinds of people who never move forward. The first kind is waiting to be saved, waiting for someone to show up and hand them the opportunity, the break, the moment that changes everything. Most people recognize this trap. Most people know this is dangerous. But the second kind is far more subtle and far more common. The second kind is waiting to feel ready. They are not lazy. They are preparing, researching, planning, getting things in order, waiting until the timing is right, until they have enough knowledge, enough money, enough confidence, enough certainty that it will work before they risk anything on it. And they will wait forever, because ready never comes. Here is the truth about how the brain works. The part of your brain responsible for fear and self-protection is not interested in your goals. It is not interested in your potential. It is interested in one thing only, keeping you alive and keeping you safe. And to that part of your brain, the unknown is a threat. Every time you're about to do something new, something uncomfortable, something that could fail, that part of your brain fires. Not yet. You need more time. You are not ready. What if it goes wrong? That feeling is not intuition. It is not wisdom. It is a biological alarm system that was designed for a world where physical danger was everywhere. It was not designed for a world where the biggest threat is staying stuck. Machiavelli watched princes and generals and powerful men his entire life. And what he observed was this: the ones who waited for perfect conditions never got them. The ones who moved when conditions were merely good enough were the ones who changed the game. He wrote that fortune favors the bold, not the prepared, not the perfect, the bold. Bold does not mean reckless. Bold means moving before you feel completely certain. Bold means trusting that you will figure out what you do not yet know by doing the thing instead of studying it. Think about this. Two people decide they want to start something, build something, change their lives. The first person spends 6 months researching, reading, planning every detail, waiting until they have it all figured out before they take a single step. The second person starts with 20% of what they need to know, makes mistakes, adjusts, learns in real time. 1 year later, who has actually moved? The person who acted. Every time. Not because they were smarter, not because they had more advantages, because they understood something fundamental. You do not learn how to do something and then do it. You do it and that is how you learn. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is not a knowledge gap. It is an action gap. And here is the most uncomfortable version of this truth. The waiting is not accidental. The waiting is a choice. Every day you tell yourself you are not ready. You are making a decision. A decision to stay where you are. A decision to protect yourself from the risk of trying and failing. A decision to keep the story open so you never have to find out what actually happens when you give everything you have. Waiting is the most sophisticated form of self-protection there is, because it looks responsible, it looks thoughtful, it looks like the smart play. Nobody can criticize you for being careful. Nobody can call you a failure when you have not tried yet. But 5 years from now, 10 years from now, that protection will cost you more than any failure ever could. Machiavelli wrote something that has stayed with me. He wrote that the cautious man, when the time comes to be bold, does not know how. Caution becomes a habit. Waiting becomes a personality. And at some point, the person who was going to do something becomes the person who used to talk about doing something. Do you know that person? Maybe you see them in the mirror. The version of you that keeps waiting is not being strategic. It is being afraid. And fear dressed up as preparation is still fear. So what do you do with this? You move. Not when you feel ready. You move to become ready. You take the step before you have all the answers. You start the thing before you have the perfect plan. You make the decision before you have the certainty. Because certainty does not come before action. It comes from action, every time. The most powerful thing you can do right now is not to figure out the perfect next step. It is to take an imperfect step and see what you learn from it. Machiavelli built his entire philosophy on one observation. The world does not wait for you to be ready. It keeps moving. And the only way to be part of that movement is to move with it. Ready is not a feeling you get. It is a decision you make. Make it now. Drop this in the comments. Say, I do not wait to be ready. I move to become ready. 3. Failure does not teach you lessons. It shows you who you really are. Everyone has heard it. Failure is a stepping stone. Failure is a teacher. Fail forward. Embrace failure. Every successful person failed first. You have heard it so many times that it stopped meaning anything. It became a poster on a wall, a quote in a caption, words that sound good but do not actually change how you feel when you are lying on the floor wondering what went wrong. So let me give you something different, something sharper. Failure is not a stepping stone. Failure is a mirror, and what it reflects is not your circumstances, not your bad luck, not the timing or the market or the people who let you down. It reflects you, the real you, the one that only shows up when everything falls apart. Think about the last time something went seriously wrong in your life, not a minor setback, a real failure. What happened in the hours and days after? Did you immediately start analyzing what went wrong and how to fix it? Or did you spiral? Did you pull back? Did you start quietly building a case for why it was not really your fault? Did you shrink? Your answer to that question tells you more about where you are right now than any personality test or self-help book ever could. Here is what Machiavelli understood that most people never do. He wrote that a man reveals his true character, not in his victories, but in how he responds to adversity. Because in victory, everyone looks strong. In victory, discipline is easy, confidence is easy, forward motion is easy. But in failure, the mask comes off. Every defense mechanism you have built over years of protecting yourself activates at once. Every story you tell yourself about who you are gets tested against the one question you have been avoiding. Was I actually good enough? The weak response is to protect yourself from that question. Blame the circumstances, minimize the failure, decide it did not matter anyway. Move on without looking at it clearly. This feels like resilience. It is not. It is avoidance wearing the costume of resilience. The strong response is to stand in front of that mirror and look, really look. not with cruelty, not with self-destruction, but with honesty. What did this failure reveal about a belief I was holding that was not true? What did my reaction show me about where I am still afraid? What pattern was I repeating that I have been unwilling to see? This is how failure becomes genuinely useful, not as a stepping stone you walk over on your way to success, as a diagnostic tool, a precise, brutal, honest picture of your internal architecture at this exact moment. Thomas Edison is famous for saying he did not fail 10,000 times. He found 10,000 ways that did not work. Most people hear that as optimism. It is not optimism. It is data collection. It is the behavior of someone who looks at every failure as information rather than verdict. The difference between those two things is everything. A verdict says, "This failure means something permanent about me. I tried and failed. Therefore, I am a failure." The story is closed. Information says, "This failure revealed something I did not know. Now I know it." The story continues. Machiavelli never advised men to avoid failure. He advised them to learn to read it faster than their enemies could exploit it. Because the man who understands his own weaknesses before his opponent discovers them holds all the power in the room. And here is the twist that most people never get to. The people who are most afraid of failure are not the weak ones. They are often the most talented, the most intelligent, the ones with the most potential, because they understand exactly what failure means. They understand what is at stake, and so they design their lives, often without realizing it, to avoid the kind of failure that would truly test them. They stay in lanes where they know they can succeed. They avoid the risks that could expose the gap between who they are and who they want to be. They manage their world to keep the mirror covered, and they spend their lives wondering why they feel stuck. The mirror does not lie, but you have to be willing to look into it. Every failure you have ever experienced was showing you something, not punishing you, showing you. The question is whether you were paying attention. Go back. Think about a failure that still sits heavily in you, one you have not fully made peace with. Ask yourself honestly, what was it showing me that I did not want to see? What did I do immediately after that was about protecting myself instead of learning? That answer is where your real growth is waiting. Machiavelli wrote that a wise man must always follow the paths beaten by great men and imitate those who have excelled. But he also wrote that a man must first be honest about where he stands before he can honestly move toward where he wants to go. You cannot navigate from a false position. You cannot rebuild on a foundation you refuse to look at clearly. Failure is the moment when the foundation becomes visible. Use it. Drop this in the comments. Say, "My failures are my mirror, not my verdict." 4. You think you are resting. You are actually dying slowly. Let me paint you a picture. A man comes home from work. He is tired. He has had a long week. He sits down on the couch and tells himself he deserves a break. He will get back to his goals on Monday. He will start fresh next month. He will make the big move when things settle down a little. Monday becomes next month. Next month becomes next year. Next year becomes a decade. And the terrifying part, he never felt like he was quitting. He never made a decision to stop. He just kept resting, kept waiting for the right moment to feel less tired, less busy, less overwhelmed. He was comfortable, and comfort to the brain feels exactly like safety. It is not. Here is what nobody tells you about the comfort zone. It does not feel like a trap. It feels like home. It feels reasonable. It feels like you are being smart by not rushing, not taking unnecessary risks, not burning yourself out. It feels like you have earned the right to just breathe for a while. But breathing is not building, and while you are resting, the world is moving. Machiavelli wrote something that cuts straight through this. He wrote that there is nothing more dangerous than a prolonged peace, because prolonged peace makes men soft, makes them stop sharpening their skills, stop preparing for what is coming. The man who rests too long does not just fall behind. He forgets how to compete. And that is the real cost of the comfort zone. Not just the opportunities you miss while you are in it. It is what it does to you on the inside. It shrinks your capacity for discomfort. Every day you avoid the difficult thing gets harder. Every day you choose the easy path, your tolerance for the hard path decreases. Until one day, the thing that used to feel challenging feels impossible. Not because it actually got harder, because you got softer. Think about this in terms of what economists call opportunity cost. Every choice has a price, not just the thing you give up by choosing it. When you choose comfort today, the price is not just today. It is the skill you did not build, the opportunity you did not take, the version of yourself that did not get stronger because you decided rest was more important than growth. That price is invisible. You do not feel it today. You feel it 5 years from now when someone younger, hungrier, less comfortable than you has taken the position you were always planning to earn. You feel it when you look at where you are and realize the gap between here and where you wanted to be has not stayed the same. It has widened, because while you were resting, the standard was rising. Marcus Aurelius wrote that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. But there is something he implied that people miss. That strength has to be maintained. It atrophies without use. And the enemy of maintenance is not laziness. It is the comfort that feels just comfortable enough that you never notice you are declining. Here is the hardest version of this truth. The comfort zone is not protecting you from pain. It is producing a different kind of pain. A slower, quieter, more acceptable pain. The pain of watching your potential go unused. The pain of knowing deep inside that you are capable of more, but choosing not to reach for it, because reaching is uncertain and staying is safe. That pain does not hit you all at once. It accumulates in small moments when someone else gets what you wanted, in the quiet hours late at night when the question comes, what am I actually doing with my life? Machiavelli understood that the comfortable man is the predictable man, and the predictable man is the man who gets past. He wrote that men who rely on the safety of their position rather than on the force of their character will always be at the mercy of whoever is willing to work harder than them. The world does not punish rest. It simply rewards the people who did not rest. So what does this actually look like in practice? It does not mean burning yourself out. It does not mean grinding until you break. It means choosing one uncomfortable thing every single day, something that stretches you just past where you feel safe, something that your brain resists because it is unfamiliar, because it might fail, because there is no guarantee it will work. That daily friction is not punishment. It is training. It is how you expand the size of your world. It is how you keep your capacity for growth alive, instead of letting it slowly contract inside a life that feels fine, but never feels fully alive. You are not resting, you are shrinking, and the only thing standing between you and the version of your life that you actually want is the willingness to be uncomfortable again. Not forever, not recklessly, just today, just this one decision, just this one step outside the boundary of what feels safe, because safe is not where your life is. Safe is where your life stops. Drop this in the comments right now. Say, comfort is the price I refuse to keep paying. 5. Nobody is coming to save you. And you already know that. You have heard this before. Nobody is coming to save you. You have to do it yourself. Stop waiting for someone to hand you the opportunity. Stop depending on other people to build your life. You have heard it. You nodded. You agreed. You probably shared it somewhere. And then you kept waiting. Not for someone to save you. You are too smart for that. But for something. For conditions to improve. For the right moment to arrive. For the fear to go away. For the path to become clear enough that the first step feels safe. Here is what nobody has ever said to you directly. The fact that you know nobody is coming and you are still waiting, that is not ignorance. That is something much more sophisticated going on underneath the surface. That is your brain protecting you from the one question you are most afraid of. What if I give everything I have, everything, and it still does not work? Think about what that question means. Because right now, as long as you have not truly tried, as long as you are still in the preparation phase, still warming up, still getting ready, you have protection. You have the story. I could have done it if I had really committed. I just have not gone all in yet. That story is a shield. It protects your identity. It keeps the possibility alive. And as long as the possibility is alive, the failure cannot be total. But the moment you commit completely, the moment you go all in with full effort and full sincerity, you lose the shield. And if you fail after that, there is nothing to hide behind. No excuses. No maybe if I had tried harder. Just the raw, exposed reality of what happened. The psychologist Martin Seligman spent decades studying what happens to people who experience repeated failure they cannot control. He found that at some point, the brain stops trying, not because the person is weak, because the brain learned that effort does not produce results. He called it learned helplessness. But here is what most people miss about this. Learned helplessness is not just something that happens to people with broken lives. It happens quietly to people who are functioning perfectly well on the surface. Every time you tried something and it did not work, every time you took a risk and got burned, every time the effort did not match the reward, your brain logged that information, and slowly, without your permission, it started adjusting your behavior, making you a little less likely to try, a little more likely to find reasons why now is not the right time, a little more comfortable with the idea of waiting just a bit longer. Machiavelli wrote that men deceive themselves into believing that patience will overcome difficulty, but he observed that most of the time, patience is just another word for avoidance, dressed in virtue. There is a difference between strategic patience and fearful waiting. Strategic patience means you are actively doing something while you wait for the right moment. Fearful waiting means you are doing nothing and calling it strategy. Only you know which one you are doing. And this is the part that most conversations about this never reach. The problem is not that you believe someone else will save you. The problem is that you are saving yourself, from the verdict, from the moment of total honesty where you find out what you are actually made of when there is nothing left to blame. That protection feels wise. It feels careful. It feels like you are being smart about your energy and your risk, but it is costing you the life you keep saying you want. Machiavelli wrote that delays are always costly. He wrote that the prince who does not move when the moment arrives will find that the moment will not return, because the world keeps moving, and the longer you wait, the narrower the door becomes. Not because the opportunity disappears, but because you do. The version of you who could have walked through that door with full energy and full hunger gets a little smaller every year, a little more tired, a little more certain that it probably would not have worked anyway. Here is what taking responsibility actually looks like. Not the motivational version of it, the real version. It means sitting with the question, am I waiting because I genuinely need more time? Or am I waiting because I am afraid of what happens when I have no excuses left? That question is uncomfortable. It is supposed to be, because the answer is where your real power lives. The moment you stop waiting is not the moment conditions become perfect. It is the moment you decide that your potential matters more than your protection. That the risk of trying and failing is smaller than the certainty of looking back at a life you never fully lived. Nobody is coming, you know that. But more importantly, you do not need anyone to come. You are the one you have been waiting for. The capability is already there. The strength is already there. The only thing standing between you and the decision is the willingness to make it without guarantees. Stop protecting yourself from your own potential. Make the move, not the perfect move, the next move, and then the one after that. Drop this in the comments. Say, nobody is coming. I am the one I have been waiting for. 6. Time is not running out. It is leaving you behind. Most people have the wrong relationship with time. They think of it like a countdown, like there is a clock somewhere ticking down towards zero, and every day that passes is another day subtracted from the total. This creates a specific kind of panic, the kind that makes you feel like you are always behind, always chasing, always running out of runway. But that is not actually what is happening. Time is not running out. Time is moving, steadily, constantly, in one direction, with or without you. The question is not how much time you have left. The question is whether you are moving with it or watching it pass. There is a fundamental difference between those two things, and it changes everything about how you live. When you believe time is running out, you become the victim of it. Something is being taken from you. You are powerless against the countdown. The only response is panic or paralysis. But when you understand that time is moving and you have the choice to move with it, everything shifts. You are no longer the victim. You are the person making the choice. Every day is not a subtraction, it is a decision. Are you moving or are you watching? Machiavelli wrote that fortune is like a river. When it floods, it overwhelms everything in its path. But when the weather is calm, men can take measures, build defenses, create channels. The ones who get swept away are not the unlucky ones. They are the ones who did not move when moving was possible. The regret research tells us something devastating about this. Studies of people in the final years of their lives consistently find the same result. The things people regret most are not the things they tried and failed. They are the things they never tried. The words they never said. The paths they never took. The versions of themselves they were too afraid to become. Bronnie Ware, a nurse who spent years with dying patients, wrote about the most common regret she heard. It was not, "I wish I had worked less." It was, "I wish I had lived the life I wanted instead of the life others expected of me." That is a time problem, not a shortage of time, a misuse of it. Here is what misusing time actually looks like. It does not look like lying on a couch doing nothing. It looks like being incredibly busy with things that do not matter. Spending your energy on obligations that were never really yours. Staying in situations that drain you because leaving feels too uncertain. Optimizing the wrong life instead of having the courage to build the right one. Machiavelli was ruthlessly honest about this. He wrote that a man who spends his time on what others want will never have time for what he needs. The world will always have demands. There will never be a shortage of people and situations competing for your attention. The question is whether you have decided clearly enough about what matters to say no to everything else. This is not about productivity. This is not about squeezing more output from every hour. This is about something deeper, about whether the hours you are spending are building the life you actually want or just maintaining the one you accidentally ended up in. There is a version of your life that looks back from 10 years from now. Two versions, actually. In the first version, you look back and see movement, not perfection, not a straight line, but genuine, real, intentional movement toward the things that mattered to you. You made decisions. You took risks. You moved through fear instead of waiting for it to disappear. You built something. In the second version, you look back and see that the world moved. And you watched it. You were busy. You were not lazy. But you were busy with the wrong things. Busy maintaining. Busy managing. Busy surviving instead of living. And the gap between where you are and where you wanted to be is exactly the same as it was 10 years ago. Just 10 years older. Time did not take anything from you in that second version. You let it go by. So what does it mean to move with time instead of watching it pass? It means making one decision today that is aligned with who you have decided to be. Not a dramatic gesture, not a complete overhaul of your life. One decision. The phone call you have been avoiding, the work you have been putting off, the conversation you have been waiting to have, the first step on the thing you keep saying you will start when you feel ready. One decision. Today, not tomorrow. Because tomorrow is where every intention that never became reality is living. Tomorrow is comfortable. Tomorrow has no cost. But every tomorrow you choose becomes a yesterday. You cannot get back. Time is moving right now. As you watch this, as you read these words, it is not waiting for you to decide. It is not pausing while you figure it out. It is moving. Are you? Drop this in the comments. Say, time moves, and so do I. 7. Your biggest enemy is not out there. It lives in your head. What if I told you that the thing stopping you has never been external? Not the economy, not the people who did not believe in you, not the circumstances you were born into, not the bad timing or the bad luck, or the people who got in your way. What if every time you stopped, every time you pulled back right before the breakthrough, every time you sabotaged something that was actually working, it was not weakness. It was intelligence. Stay with me here. Your brain is the most sophisticated protection machine ever created. Its primary function, above everything else, is to keep you safe. Not happy, not fulfilled, not successful. Safe. And safe, to the brain, means familiar. It means the known. It means staying within the boundaries of what has not killed you yet. Every time you are about to do something that could genuinely change your life, your brain runs a calculation. And the calculation is not, will this make my life better? The calculation is this familiar? Is this within the range of what I have done before? Is there a guarantee attached to this? And when the answer is no, the alarm sounds. Not the kind of alarm you can hear, the subtle kind, the voice that says, maybe wait a little longer, the feeling that something is not quite right, the sudden awareness of all the ways this could go wrong, the exhaustion that appears out of nowhere right before you start. That is not weakness. That is your brain doing exactly what it was designed to do. The psychologist Carl Jung wrote that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. He spent his life studying the hidden forces that drive human behavior. And what he found, again and again, was that people do not fail because they lack ability. They fail because something underneath the surface is working against the direction they are consciously trying to move. Machiavelli understood the same thing from a completely different angle. He wrote that the most dangerous enemy a prince faces is not the enemy outside the gates. It is the enemy within his own court, the advisor who appears loyal but serves a different agenda, the voice of caution that presents itself as wisdom but is actually fear. That voice is in your head right now. It has always been there. It is the voice that says you are not ready, that says you should think about this a little longer, that says this is not the right time. That finds every possible reason why staying where you are is the smart, responsible, logical choice. And it is sophisticated. It does not come to you as fear. Fear is obvious. Fear you can fight. It comes as reason, as maturity, as self-awareness, as the voice of experience warning you not to make the same mistakes again. Here is how to recognize it. Whenever you are about to do something that could genuinely matter, something that involves real risk, real exposure, real possibility of failure, notice what happens in the hours before. Notice the thoughts that appear. Notice what your energy does. Notice whether you suddenly find 17 other things that need your attention first. That pattern is the enemy, not a person, not a circumstance, a pattern. And here is the thing about patterns. You cannot fight them directly. Trying to force your way through this kind of internal resistance with willpower alone is like trying to push water uphill. The moment you stop pushing, it flows right back. What you can do is something Machiavelli would recognize immediately. You name it, you see it. You stop pretending it is something else. When the voice of hesitation shows up, instead of listening to it or arguing with it, you look at it directly and you say, I see you, I know what you are, and I am choosing differently today. That moment of recognition is not small. It is the entire game, because the enemy in your head has only one real weapon: invisibility. As long as it operates in the background, as long as you experience its effects, without recognizing the source, it wins every time. The moment you see it clearly, it loses most of its power. Machiavelli wrote that a man who knows his enemy and knows himself will not be imperiled in 100 battles, but the man who knows himself without knowing his enemy will win 1 battle for every one he loses. The enemy he was talking about is not always external. Sometimes, most of the time, the battle is internal. You have a version of yourself that is small, that wants safety above all else. That will burn down every opportunity you have to avoid the discomfort of real exposure. That will keep you comfortable and stuck and quietly miserable rather than risk the pain of failing at something you actually care about. That version is not your enemy. It is a part of you that learned to protect you, but it learned in a world that no longer exists. It learned to protect a younger, more vulnerable version of you from real threats that have long since passed. You have outgrown the protection, but the protector does not know that yet. So you do not fight it, you do not punish it. You see it, you name it, you thank it for the years it kept you safe. And then you choose something bigger than safety. Drop this in the comments. Say, I see the enemy. I name the fear. I choose differently. Look at what just happened. You came into this video as one person. You are leaving as something different. You are no longer the person who did not know why discipline kept failing. You understand now. It was never discipline. It was identity. And identity is a choice. You are no longer the person waiting to feel ready. You know now that ready is not a feeling you wait for. It is a state you create by moving. You are no longer the person who feared failure. You see it now for what it is. A mirror, a map, information, not verdict. You are no longer the person resting inside a comfort zone without realizing the price. You see the cost now, and you refuse to keep paying it. You are no longer the person waiting for someone to arrive. You arrived. You are here. That is enough. You are no longer watching time pass. You are choosing to move with it, and you are no longer blindly following the voice in your head that dressed fear as wisdom. You see it now, and you choose differently. Machiavelli did not write for the people who had everything handed to them. He wrote for the ones who had to build it, in hard conditions, under pressure, without guarantees. That is you. That has always been you. You do not need to erase what happened. You do not need to go back to zero. You just need to start building on the right foundation. The one you choose. The one that is yours. Start right. Start now. If this changed something in you, hit that like button. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe, because the next video goes even deeper. And drop your final affirmation right now. Say, I am rebuilding. I am focused. I cannot be stopped.